Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well and I hope you all had a really great Christmas. Ours was a fairly low-key Christmas, which it normally is. We just do a Secret Santa sort of gifting thing, so that was actually really nice. My oldest son bought for me and he got me a couple of really beautiful crystals. So one was like a carnelian crystal ball and the other one was a flower agate tower, so they may show up in some readings in the future. Okay, well this video is actually for the new moon in Capricorn, which is happening right at the end of the year. So new moons are the start of a new cycle and a good time to set intentions for what we'd like to manifest. Capricorn being an earth sign, it relates to our material existence, and in particular Capricorn is associated with our goals and what we'd like to achieve. So with all that in mind, I'm actually loving that this new moon is in Capricorn and it's so close to the new year, because the new moon intentions that we set are pretty much going to be close to what our New Year's resolutions are for 2025. So I guess the thing to think about with your new moon intentions this time are what to do with what you'd like to accomplish in 2025 or work towards in 2025. Now the full moon in Capricorn will happen in the middle of the year. So the intentions that are set at this Capricorn new moon would be expected to have results that are evident by the full moon in Capricorn. So this is interesting, and I'm actually feeling a bit of a buzz as I'm talking about this. So I think Spirit is saying that we should definitely go big with these intentions. In terms of the video, as always, I'll take a look at the astrology and then follow with a tarot spread for the new moon. And there will be timestamps in the description box. So before we move on, let's just do a quick love pause. And this is where we pause the video and take a minute to intentionally send some loving energy out into the universe. You can also just choose to do a Ho'oponopono prayer, which is where you say the 4 sentences: thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, and please forgive me. All right, so the time to pause is now, and I'll see you all on the next slide. All right, so this is our new moon chart. Now, I personally find that the tarot and astrology sections do often connect pretty well with each other, but if astrology is not your thing, you can just skip through to the tarot section. That's totally fine. Okay, so on this chart, highlighted in purple are the sun and the moon, and they're conjunct, as they always are at a new moon. So here they're at 9 degrees of Capricorn. Now, the ruler of this full moon is Saturn, and it's actually in a sextile to the full moon, so it is lending support to this full moon. In terms of where Saturn is, it's in Pisces, and it's shown here in blue at about sort of 9:30 on this clock. Now, Saturn in Pisces is about structures and boundaries in relation to our spiritual beliefs. I feel like this is saying that we will be setting new intentions that are aligned with our spiritual beliefs at this new moon. So we're being asked to outline the changes we want to see in our physical reality, but these changes have to be right for us in a spiritual sense as well. Now, Saturn is also in a T-square with Jupiter, which is retrograde in Gemini, and Mercury, which is in Sagittarius. So I've highlighted these planets in the same shade of blue as Saturn. Now, Jupiter's the one down the bottom of the chart, and Mercury's the one up the top of the chart. Now, Jupiter and Mercury are in opposition. And as I've mentioned this opposition before, they're both in detriment in these signs, but they're also in mutual reception because they are each in the sign that is ruled by the other. So Mercury is in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. So this softens that opposition that they're in. But Saturn, being in this T-square, is actually the dominant planet in this arrangement. And so here at this new moon, the Saturn influence is particularly strong because, one, it's sextiling the new moon, but it's also in this T-square where it's the dominant planet. So I feel like it's lending its support to the new moon, but it's also pushing back against Mercury, which relates to the mind, and against Jupiter, which relates to knowledge, exploration, and expansion. So what I'm getting from all of this is that the main focus here at this new moon is just about being true to your core spiritual beliefs. So it's not about what your mind wants you to do, and it's not about discovering anything new or entering any new territory. So what we're being asked to do is just go within and get really clear on what matters to us and to set new intentions based on that. So I actually really like that. Now, we also have a problematic opposition on this chart, and it's the one where the two planets are highlighted in red. So Pluto in Aquarius is shown at about 11 o'clock on this chart, and Mars retrograde is in Leo at about 5 o'clock on this chart. And I've mentioned this before, but Mars and Pluto, they're energetically quite similar, but Mars is obviously a personal planet and Pluto is an outer planet. So I tend to see Mars as relating to the individual will and Pluto as relating to the cosmic will. So both of these planets are here in fixed signs, so they're going to be stubborn and unyielding. But Pluto is obviously stronger and Mars is currently in retrograde, so Pluto definitely has the upper hand. And with Mars in retrograde, it seems like the impact of this opposition will be primarily on an internal level. But that's not to say it won't have external impact, because Mars is the god of war. So it's pretty aggressive energies. And I feel like this opposition could lead to people lashing out at others because the impact of Pluto is so strong. And so I'm seeing situations where someone's personal plan is that they want to do something or get something, and the cosmic plan is that what they want is absolutely not going to happen. And if the person we're dealing with here is operating from ego, like very much operating from ego, they might not take that disappointment very well. And I just got the word narcissists pop into my head. And well, yeah, I guess they're the ones who are the most operating from their ego, right? So if you do happen to know any narcissistic, controlling types of people, maybe you need to just avoid them for a bit. I mean, you'd obviously be best to avoid them anyway because they aren't the best people to be around. But I feel like they might actually, lose their shit if some outcome that they really wanted doesn't end up happening. So to give you an example, like if someone really wanted a promotion at work and they invested a lot into plotting and scheming and messing up other people's chances, and then all of that ends up failing because the business hires someone totally new for the position, well, that's a sort of scenario where someone could actually completely lose it. So that was just an example that popped into my head. But this Pluto energy is bigger than the individual. So whatever someone wants, they might get a big cosmic slapdown. And obviously that can happen to all of us, but some of us or some people will be able to accept that outcome because they're humble enough to know that they won't always get their way in life. So I feel like it's the people who are most operating from their ego that will struggle to handle the disappointment when it happens. And the other thing to point out with this opposition, it's not really a one and done event because it's going to happen again when Mars goes direct. So what's happening with this Mars retrograde is that Mars will re-enter Cancer and then it will station direct and then it will have to move through these early degrees of Leo again. And when it's doing that, it's going to oppose Pluto in Aquarius again before moving further into Leo. So I guess it may not be as bad as what I think because obviously the Mars retrograde and having had this first opposition will mean that we've maybe done some inner work before the second opposition comes along. But we are dealing with fixed sign energies, so I guess that's not necessarily guaranteed. You could still have that big conflict when Mars goes direct as well. Now there's also a square here from Uranus, which is retrograde in Taurus, and Venus in Aquarius. So I've highlighted those in green. So Uranus is at about 7 o'clock on the chart and Venus is at about 10 o'clock on the chart. So that's another tense aspect because it's a square, but and also, the planets are also in fixed signs, but this is actually another instance where there is a mutual reception happening because Uranus rules Aquarius, which is where Venus is, and Venus rules Taurus, which is where Uranus is. So I feel like Uranus and Taurus would be about surprising inner revelations that relate to our outer world. And in a square with Venus, that's about pressure being felt by our feminine energies. But again, just like I said with that Mercury Sagittarius opposition, the mutual reception really softens the impact of the square. So it may not turn out to be anything too earth-shattering in that sense. I've got Neptune in Pisces here shown in grey at about 9 o'clock on the chart, and it's in sextiles with Pluto and Uranus as it has been for quite some time. and it's also in a trine with Mars. So the nodal axis I've got highlighted in yellow, and the north node is on the left-hand side, and it's actually conjunct Neptune, because the north node's at 1 degree of Aries and Neptune is at 27 degrees of Pisces, so they're actually very close. And so it's not just Neptune that's in these interactions. So the North Node is also in a sextile with Pluto and a sextile with Uranus and in a trine with Mars. So that Pluto-Mars opposition, when you look at it, it's actually benefiting the North Node as well. And that's the North Node is about our soul's path. So if we've got North Node conjunct Neptune, and that will happen, like the exact conjunction will happen in the final degrees of Pisces. But this conjunction is going to mean a lot of enlightenment in relation to the soul's path. And then with Pluto being in that ongoing sextile, it's basically supporting any transformation that's going to happen as a result of this North Node Neptune conjunction. So I feel like these are quite exciting times in relation to the North Node. And finally, there's a Chiron Lilith opposition. I haven't highlighted it, but basically the two unhighlighted areas of the chart. Now, Chiron in Aries is on the left side of the chart, and Lilith in Libra is on the right side of the chart. And this seems like quite a complex interaction to me. So Chiron in Aries is about healing who we are, and Lilith is about being wild and free. And it's in the sign of Libra, which is actually about our interactions with others, our close relationships. Now, Chiron is a very mature, evolved energy, and Lilith is maybe at the opposite end of the scale in that respect. And I guess it's an interesting opposition in that sense. So with Chiron, we're healing our sense of self. And with Lilith, we're rebelling and trying to free ourselves from some of our important connections. So the part that is a little bit odd is that these two being in opposition means somehow these two processes are at odds with one another. So I don't know that I fully get it, but if I think about it logically, the right balance is that we're both healing our sense of self and we're finding ourselves in connections where we don't feel trapped and confined. And when we're in those connections that are healthy, then we don't really need to have those Lilith urges because we have freedom within those connections. So yeah, even though I don't fully understand this opposition, I think that's the outcome we should ultimately be aiming for from a soul evolution perspective. So maybe the Chiron opposition is moderating those Lilith urges. And what I mean by that is that this dynamic is showing us perhaps the problematic relationships, but we're also being shown that some of these relationships can be improved by healing ourselves. And the ones that aren't improved by us healing ourselves are maybe the relationships that we need to get out of because they're just the wrong relationships. And to be honest, I've done a lot of self-work over the years, and it's actually been a little surprising how a lot of my relationships have shifted. And it's been a bit of a paradoxical thing, to be honest, because some of the relationships that I would have considered very problematic in the past seem to have moved in a more positive direction. And some of the relationships that I thought were good seem to have fallen out of alignment. So it's interesting, isn't it? But anyway, to bring it back to the Chiron-Lilith opposition, maybe it's something similar. So you're healing and you're looking for more freedom. And as this process unfolds, you're able to see which relationships are going to adapt to your evolution in a good way and which ones aren't. And it will be interesting to see how this plays out. But based on my experience, don't presume to know which relationships will travel with you and which ones won't. So my experiences have sort of surprised me, but I've also discovered, and I think this is a healing thing, but I've also discovered that I'm more okay than I would have thought I would be in the past. And I think that's where the results of the self-work and healing are evident, because I used to be someone who actually was a little bit codependent and emotionally reliant on others. And so I used to be someone who would get quite upset if people let me down and things like that. But it seems now to me that I've become someone who can detach and move on if it becomes clear that something isn't working or that it doesn't feel good for me anymore. So I guess we can call that progress. Okay, and that's all I'm seeing in this chart. So I will be moving to the tarot spread next. All right, so this is the spread that has showed up for this new moon. If you're interested in the decks that I've used here, I'll have them listed in the description box. So this is another spread with a lot of action at the bottom of the deck. There are actually 4 major arcana cards in a row at the bottom of the deck this time. And that just means that, this is a big reading, I guess. And in terms of overall, I think we've got 5 major arcana cards and an ace, so it's, looking pretty significant. Now, in order, we have the Hermit, the Death card, the Wheel of Fortune card, and the World card. And this is all at the bottom of the deck. So in terms of astrological associations, these cards give us the signs of Virgo and Scorpio and the planets Jupiter and Saturn. So we've already spoken about the big Saturn influence in the astrology, so that is interesting to have that card show up. Now, the Hermit card, this is talking about someone who has pulled away from the external world, and this is usually something that happens out of a spiritual need for solitude. So in this person's solitude, there is space for healing, introspection, and spiritual growth. The Death card then speaks of profound transformation. So I'm getting that the person who emerges from the Hermit phase is a very different person to who they were or who they might have been in the past. This Death card image is also quite interesting because the posture of this woman makes me think of surrender. And that's a key word I tend to associate with the Hanged Man card. I'm not getting a strong Hanged Man energy from this, but I feel like as she has transformed, she is also surrendered into the connection she has with the earth. She looks so grounded, and in the image she has connected so strongly to the earth that not only are there roots growing from her chakras into the earth, but there is a big strong tree that is growing from her body. So this is talking about a strong connection to Gaia and the desire to serve the Earth Mother, which is interesting. And then we come to the Wheel of Fortune card, which is about something life-changing and very unexpected, and it's related to fate or luck. It can also be seen as a divine timing card sometimes. And the last card here is the World card, which is that Saturn card that I mentioned. And this is a card of completion, unity, harmony, and balance. So this speaks of something reaching its conclusion. Now, the World card is the last card in the major arcana, so it is the end of the Fool's journey. The Fool at this point is no longer a fool. He's been through all the ups and downs of life. He is wise, mature, and balanced. In this image, we have Mother Gaia on the card again. So I feel like this is definitely bringing up that strong connection to Earth again. And because we have that energy of surrender in the Death card, so I'm feeling like this particular Fool's journey has brought this person to a point of total acceptance of their purpose. They are here to serve the Earth Mother. Their transformation has brought them into alignment with this purpose. And the World card being here is saying that this is complete. And I just had the word revealed pop into my head. So I feel like this World card could even be carrying a literal message of this person's purpose being known to the world. So I feel like I'm backtracking now, but we have the Wheel of Fortune card appearing between the Death card and this World card. So I feel like there is something unexpected, some unexpected event that leads to this person's purpose perhaps being revealed to others, to the world. Now, I'm also seeing the lunar phases on both the Wheel of Fortune and the World card. And obviously this is a lunar reading that I'm doing right now. So I feel like there's something about lunar cycles for this person. Maybe they need to start paying more attention to that. And by that I mean the different phases of the moon and the signs that the moon is traveling through each day. So that seems to be saying that the everyday movement of the moon might be significant for this person. Now, I assume there are a lot of people out there who are like me and they pay attention to the new moons and the full moons, but I feel like this is about connecting to the energy of the moon every day. So I guess if you're strongly connected to the earth and the earth only has one moon, there might be something in that bond between the earth and the moon that's particularly important. We know the moon has influences on this planet through the tides, obviously, but also it does affect people's emotions. And the moon is also the planet that relates to the High Priestess in Tarot, and the Moon card in Tarot also carries the message of using one's intuition. So both of these cards are related to water energies, and I'm talking about Cancer and Pisces specifically. So I feel like this person's intuition might become stronger or more developed if they start studying the lunar cycles more closely. I'm not an expert on this by any means, but there are websites that will give you astrology information for the day, so you could definitely find out what sign the moon is in each day and what the lunar phase is for each day. And I'm also thinking about some oracle decks that relate to the moon, which do have messages and guidance relating to the different phases of the moon. Obviously, I haven't used any of them here in this spread, but I might list them in the description box as well for those who are interested. Now, if this part of the reading is resonating for you, these oracle decks, these moon-specific oracle decks, might help you learn more about different lunar phases and transits and what they might mean. And if oracle decks aren't your thing, I'm sure all of that information will be available in books that have been written on the topic. So do some research if you think that's something you want to look into. And while I was saying that, I also got the fact that the Native Americans had different names for each full moon, and I think that was related to the seasons that they were experiencing. So I guess that's another example of how the moon has guided people here on Earth. So yes, if this part of the storyline is resonating for you, I'm getting that by studying the moon, you're going to develop some strong insights into how things work on Earth. And wow, I really wasn't expecting anything that specific when I laid out the cards for this spread. So if you're watching this and you're someone who already studies the lunar cycles in a lot of detail, I'm going to ask you a favor. Please share your experience in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to know what kind of impact this practice has had on you, and if it has meant a greater understanding of other people or things that happen on the planet. And if there are specific resources that you have found to be helpful, it would be great if you could share those recommendations as well. Okay, so that was an unusual start to the reading, but I'm just going to move through the rest of the spread. So the card in the past position is the Ace of Pentacles. So this is about a new opportunity in the material world. It can also represent a windfall, so something that brings in more wealth or more security. And this is a great card in the past position, but I have to say that this card fell out while I was shuffling and it landed upside down, which means I have to take it as a reversal. The reason I haven't put the card upside down is I don't like looking at upside down cards, but if you look at this image, you'll see I've placed a little button here to mark that this card is reversed. So we actually have the Ace of Pentacles reversed, which means that even though the Ace of Pentacles is a good card to have here in this past position, that energy has actually been blocked. So I feel like what this means is maybe there was something that was a great opportunity, and this person maybe did take that opportunity, and it was meant to bring in some good things, but something has happened to block or delay those good things from happening. So if we're talking about something that should have meant more wealth or more security, this person hasn't seen those gains yet. An example of this might be if someone had a little business that was doing okay, and then they got their chance to move their business to a much better location. And logically, they were expecting that their business would do a lot better in a location that was much easier for people to get to and had a lot more foot traffic. But then they make this move, and even though there have been more people coming through, there's actually no significant difference in terms of how their business is doing. So it could be that their sales have increased, but only just enough to pay for the higher rent on their new premises, and that's the only change they've seen. So it's like one of those things where it just doesn't make sense to anyone why they aren't doing better, because the new location is vastly superior to the old location. And so this Ace of Pentacles, obviously that was an example. This Ace of Pentacles reversed is going to mean different things for different people. But again, I get that sense of what's been happening just doesn't make sense. It's been a good opportunity. They've taken it and they just haven't got anything for it. And now I'm thinking back to how I did say talk about divine timing in relation to that Wheel of Fortune card. So I feel like maybe the reason for this block or delay with this Ace of Pentacles could just be a divine timing issue. So the universe is saying, no, it's not time yet. And well, that's not something a person can really do anything about. So all they can do is keep doing their best. In life, it does often seem that some people get a lucky break and others don't, even if their work is just as good. So if we're talking about luck, well, that's what the Wheel of Fortune card is talking about. And as I said before, the Wheel of Fortune card changes a person's luck at what seems like a random point in time. And I guess we can call that divine timing. So I'm getting that this delay in the good things coming will get sorted when the Wheel of Fortune energies show up. All right, now the card in the present position is the Star card, which is another major arcana card. So this card relates to Aquarius, and it is a card of healing and recovering and focusing on one's hopes and dreams for the future. Now I can see this being about healing and recovering from past disappointments. And if we're talking about someone who has been through all the ups and downs of the Fool's journey, they've had some tough experiences. And maybe their recent experience in relation to this reversed Ace of Pentacles has been difficult for them as well. So if they've been doing their best at something and not getting the results they were hoping for, that would also be quite disheartening. And if they've had other similar experiences in the past, they might be feeling like things are always hard for them, or that they're just not good enough to succeed, or that their life has always been a series of disappointments. I just got the song Boulevard of Broken Dreams when I said that. So I'll be putting that on the SJ playlist. But anyway, these kinds of thoughts are really not surprising if someone has had a tough time of it in their life. But with the Star card being here, they're healing and recovering from the past. So I think they'll be recognizing that these more negative thoughts are something they need to release. They aren't going to be succeeding at anything if they're holding on to a negative mindset about life. That isn't going to attract in abundance. So at this point, they just need to release the negativity they've picked up on their journey. And I've always said that the energy that follows the World card is the Fool 2.0. So while the person in the World card isn't a fool anymore, they still have a life to live. And now that they have all the wisdom and life experience that they have, they can actually choose to get back into the world and interact with it in a fearless way. So the first time they did that, they were in full energy. They were naive and innocent, and they didn't know how challenging life could be. Now the Fool 2.0 is different. They can be fearless as well, but it's because they know they've been through a lot and they've survived it all. They've been lost, they've been trapped, they've been hurt, they've been controlled, they've been manipulated, they've been ravaged. The Fool 2.0 has experienced all of it, and they have become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. So even though they know the world is a tough place, they also know now that they can handle it. So getting back to this Star card energy, this person needs to release the negativity and get back to interacting with the world in a carefree, fearless kind of way. They need to start believing in good things and focusing on their hopes and dreams. So I really like this message here. Here at this point is where I might talk about a couple of the oracle cards we have. We have the Buddha card, and it shows the Buddha's enlightened aura, but it also shows a glowing heart chakra. The card is titled Heightened Awareness, and its message is make peace with your thoughts and your world. So yes, this is about releasing any thoughts that create turbulence or blocks in your mind, and negative thoughts are definitely going to do that. So when your mind is at peace, there are no blocks to the flow. And I think if this story is resonating for you, it's really important to clear your mind. Now, meditation is obviously a great thing to practice on an everyday basis, but I know meditation can be hard. It's actually hard for me, but I still try and do it every day. I definitely agree with the idea, though, that mindfulness is a form of meditation, and I think that's where I have a lot more success. So if you can find activities that you can completely immerse yourself in, that is a form of meditation. So these might be some form of exercise, it could be hobbies, but it can also even be really mundane things. So I know I've talked to some people who love ironing. I've personally always liked hanging out washing and hand washing dishes. And I know that might sound crazy, but it is what it is. I'm also not someone who loves cooking, and I'm not an imaginative cook, but I actually know that when I start cooking, I do get into a very focused flow state, and my attention is just on what I'm doing. So I think it's these kinds of things that are my meditations. And obviously writing is super important to me because that's when I feel the most connected to spirit. And I think that's why I channel when I write. And so anytime I'm not feeling good, I will go and write about it, because I feel that by putting the thoughts into words, I'm moving the thoughts out of my head and they're no longer cluttering up my mind. So if I want to restore myself to a state of peace, I will start writing. So whatever it is that you know has a calming effect on your mind, that's something that you should start doing more regularly, so that you're creating peace in your mind on a regular basis. I guess for me, doing these readings mean that I'm writing regularly, and that means I'm doing something regularly that helps me get into a state of peace. So my advice is that you should find the thing that does this for you and make it something that you do often. Now, I normally try and use different deck creators for all the oracle cards, but I was guided to this deck, and it didn't even register till later that both of these first two oracle decks are by Kyle Gray. So I guess Spirit didn't want me to have that realization until later. And I'm thinking Spirit wanted both of these cards to be here. So the second oracle card is titled The Chamber of the Violet Flame, and it has the keywords karmic release and radical transformation. So that seems to fit with the death card energies, as well as the star card, what I was talking about in relation to the star card. So this is about releasing what no longer serves you. Now, the violet flame is used as a way to transmute energy. So it's a way to release negative energies to the light so that they can be transmuted. And we can invoke the violet flame anytime we want to release things. I personally do a lot of my cleansing in the shower because I'm standing in running water, and that's actually also when I've used the violet flame with success. It works for me because I'm feeling that warm water on my skin, and I can close my eyes and imagine that I'm actually standing in the violet flame, and then I just think about what I want to release into that flame. And even when I'm not working with the violet flame, I do often ask that I'm cleansed by the element of water when I'm standing in running water in the shower. So I feel like cleansing is especially important when you are or you have been dealing with difficult situations. And maybe the reason this card needed to be here is so that I could share this with you. So if you cleanse as you go with these difficult life events, you're less likely to continue to carry negativity and karmic baggage with you into the future. So maybe just start getting into that habit as well of regularly cleansing your energies. The tarot card in the future position is the Knight of Cups, and it was interesting when I pulled this card because I immediately felt that the Knight of Cups in this card is talking about the person that this reading is for. So quite often when I get the Knight of Cups, I see it as someone else coming in with an offer of love and appreciation, but I definitely didn't feel that way with this card when I put it down. I felt very much like it was this person themselves riding forward with their cup of love that they are wanting to share. So this is the future energy. So this is who they become once they've emerged from the healing phase that's represented by the star card. And I'm also thinking about how the Fool 2.0 is fearless. And when you think about it, it takes a lot of courage and confidence to boldly express love in the way the Knight of Cups does. I feel like this storyline is about someone who will start operating from love rather than fear, and that shift is going to change their life. So this Knight of Cups is riding through a field that is abundant with flowers, and that's interesting because of the card that showed up as the last oracle card. So there's a reason I left that oracle card to the end, and it's because it seems to link in with quite a few of the other cards in this spread. In the last oracle card, we again have a woman with a strong connection to earth, and we have the green color of the heart chakra as well. And the heart chakra was highlighted in the Buddha card. And then there's the message on this card, which reads, I gratefully accept the abundance that the earth bestows upon me. Now, pentacles relate to earth signs, and we have the Ace of Pentacles in this spread, which is a card of abundance. So this connection to earth is important, and so is the heart chakra. So this is to do with loving the earth and being blessed by the earth in return. Now, I'm not sure how that will happen, but the message is clear that the earth will bless this person with abundance. Now, I'm trying to imagine what that might look like, and all I could really come up with was something like they're inheriting a farm or a vineyard or something. But that could just be my mind taking this too literally. I guess we have the world card in this spread, and we do often refer to the earth as the world or the planet. So maybe this can be interpreted as this person being someone who loves the world, and the world reciprocates by blessing them with abundance. And that certainly fits with the image of the Knight of Cups traveling through that abundant field with their cup of love to offer the world. I feel like that image is saying that the world they're traveling through will bloom in response to their energy. And even if we were to take that literally, if flowers bloomed everywhere you went, you would see that as a blessing, wouldn't you? Even if it wasn't wealth and material security in the traditional sense of the Ace of Pentacles, if the world you travelled through was always beautiful, I think you would love your life. And maybe that's the blessing that's coming, a beautiful life that only grows more beautiful as you bring more and more love into it. And there we have it. What a reading. Now, I was feeling most of the way like I didn't really see how this connected to the astrology, but now I think it is that Saturn in Pisces influence that we're talking about. If we are true to our spiritual values as we set intentions for the life we wish to lead, we might not get the kind of life that is successful in terms of the 3D definition of success, which pretty much tends to be about money and luxury. So maybe the success that comes from from making more spiritually elevated choices is an entirely different kind of success. So we're now talking about experiencing joy and beauty and happiness and pleasure and fulfillment, and we're calling these the metrics of success. So success here is about a high vibrational life experience. And the thing that comes to mind immediately as I say that is that if you're always operating in a high vibration, then your manifestational capabilities become next level. I mean, they could be insane manifestational capabilities. And maybe that means that you will never actually have to go without anything that you wish to have. So maybe you won't be someone who has a lot of money, but when you decide that you want a particular car, you'll find that it suddenly drops in price and falls into your price range, the price range that you can afford. Or maybe you'll need something fixed and a friend of yours will just say, oh, that's easy, I can fix that for you. And then you find you don't have to pay a professional to do that job. So that's the kind of effortless manifestation that I'm talking about here. So that is maybe what we're talking about with this blessed life. It's maybe not money, but somehow everything just works out for you. And that would be pretty amazing and pretty cool if it was the case. Now, that's definitely all I'm seeing here in this spread. So I hope you enjoyed the reading. All right, so that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. The decks I've used today are listed in the description box, and I'll add the names of some of the other moon-specific decks that might be helpful if you are interested in lunar cycles. Now, some of these decks are going to have Amazon links next to them, so those links will take you to the Amazon site that's appropriate for where you live. If you purchase a deck after using the link I've shared, I might be eligible for a small commission, and that won't affect the price you pay or any shipping deals that you're entitled to. The only other thing is that the link is only active for 24 hours unless the item is added to your cart. So if you're thinking about using these links to buy a deck, just add the deck to your cart while you're considering it, and then you can remove it from the cart if you change your mind about buying it. Now, there are some extra details in the description box under the deck list for people who are interested in using my links. Now, if you find yourself watching any of the older videos I've done, I've also updated them, so you'll be able to find the list of decks and links in the description box for those videos as well. If you're still here after all that, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked the video, please give it a like or leave a comment. And if you really, really liked the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. And I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who's already subscribed. I started this channel this year, and while it hasn't been a viral success story, it's been nice to sort of watch it grow slowly. So I'm currently sitting at, I think it's 37 subscribers, and I started with 3, so that is definitely progress. And this is actually my 49th video, and there's a part of me that would love to make it 50 for the year, so maybe I'll see if I can try and make that happen before the 31st. I'll leave it up to the divine. But anyway, in case this is my last video for 2024, please accept my heartiest best wishes for 2025. I hope it is an amazing year for everyone watching. And that's it. So I hope I will see you all at another reading. Take care. Bye.